Father, we come to you today as an assembled body. We humbly request that you bless our meeting, our community, and our nation. Help us work for the common good. Guide us to be insightful, prudent in our intentions. Work through us to provide the spirit of welcome to all in attendance and engage in respectful and thoughtful dialogue. Amen. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the second flag, I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Okay. So, comments from the public. Alan?
On the agenda?
Well, if you,
I'd wait till.
well, you can speak now, and then you can, if we need to, you speak again, you can. You want to tell a story, or?
If I'm on the agenda, I won't speak now.
I don't think you're on the agenda.
Make the agenda? No, that was something that you asked.
You're on the agenda, but it's the closed session. Right? It's the closed session. So you're welcome to speak now.
Closed session.
When they go into closed session, they'll discuss it.
Everybody leaves.
Okay, so I won't be in the.
You won't be in the closed session, that's
Yes,
right.
You'll probably want
I'll
to speak now.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to follow up on my last address to the board in asking the board to send a letter to the residents of Black Oak that border the north and the west. And there's a handout that was sent out last time. I believe it's over here. Eric has a copy, but the residents have mowed and destroyed vegetation around the Spindle Tree Loop, as well as on the north side of Black Oak. And I think they're not doing it. I just think they don't know any better. And I think a letter to the residents would be helpful. I've put up signs, no mowing signs, which has been, I think, helpful so far. But a letter would be helpful. And also there's one resident that built a gravel or granite, crushed granite walkway. And then a special letter to that resident to ask them to remove that path. So I appreciate your consideration, and myself as well as the residents would appreciate action. Thank you.
I'm looking at your pictures. The red lines, the areas that are mowed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And these pictures were taken how long ago? Approximately.
Within the last month, 2 months, 2 months, yeah.
Is that all built out along that fence line now?
Yes.
Pretty much, yeah. Anything?
I think
else?
we'll discuss it
Okay.
during closed session.
Okay, thanks, Alan. Consider and act on request for adjustments to or relief from specific charges imposed by the district. Nothing? Okay. Review and act on the minutes of the September 25 Board of Directors meeting, pages 1 through 5.
Under the consent.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me start over. So, anybody have anything they want to pull off the consent agenda? No. Okay. So I'd like, get a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Everybody in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, let's go to the regular agenda. We see the regular monthly SRA Woodlands Division report, pages 17 through 30.
Report begins on page 17 in your packet. Don't have anything to add, but would be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions? Pages 17 to 30?
Let's see, there was the letter.
That-
Oh,
that's the next section.
Okay, yeah. No questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So item number 11, discuss and act on water line renewal plan and analysis completed by SGR engineers.
So I'll cover that one. At the trustee meeting last week, SDRA presented their recommendations on how to move forward with the project. Wanted to summarize kind of that for everybody. If you haven't seen the video, welcome you all to take a look at that as well. Website, but essentially they're proposing to move forward with putting the tier 1 and tier 2 projects on the 10-year project plan over the next 10 years. Includes, there's 5 tier 1 and tier 2 projects. Those would be spaced out over the 10 years. The original scope that you saw as part of HDR's recommendations would be modified slightly. That scope would include, if you'll turn to page 32, I can kind of explain a good example here on this map. The project would be modified slightly to include a base project and then capture portions of the original scope as alternates. So this would be a good example where in this one, this is the Woodlands Parkway project, that the thick red line with the stars on it, those are all the breaks. That would be kind of your base project. And then what HDR recommended and admittedly said, you know, they included some segments that were kind of on the fence. They were kind of moderate. They weren't bad condition, weren't good condition, kind of moderate, had a break or two, but not a lot. Not certainly like the base program. And that we could continue to monitor those pieces and then kind of break out a base and an alternate for each project. So that would be kind of the second piece of it. And then the third piece would be to every 5 years go back in and do a condition-based update of all of the projects. Maybe not to the full degree that we did this time, but certainly go through. The idea would be that, you know, when it comes time to doing project 2, let's say, which is this one, we would look at the break history between now and then, see if any of these alternate segments have increased in break history. If they hadn't, they'd probably push them forward. If they have, pull them into the base, get to project 3, go back to the 3 alts, go back to the 2 alts that haven't been done, do the same thing. Has anything changed? No. Okay, moving forward, or include them, that type of thing, or that type of philosophy. So I support the recommendations that they've made. We're asking the boards to direct your trustee on how to vote in November at the trustee meeting as to whether or not you are at least in favor of that philosophy. With that, they'll be able to put those on the 10-year project plan and kind of fine tune the costs and which segments are in the base versus alternate once they finish that, the 10-year project plan.
And Eric, I was reading the second paragraph just to confirm my understanding that the default is to exclude what we've been calling the spurs. So it says here, removing the alternate lines that have been shown less breaks. So the default, is that what you're calling the base? The base excludes the spurs. Yeah, this sounds reasonable. And thank you all. I had a chance to watch the videos. It was super informative, and this captures nicely and rationally the concerns that I brought up in other periods.
You know, the easy one to view is the Woodlands Parkway.
Right.
Mhm.
The clouded areas are areas that are optional in the way I described it, was you'd have a base Woodlands Parkway, then you'd have A, B, and C, and right. And then as the analysis comes in, we can, you know, we can add or subtract those options. I handed a handout to you that was provided in the other meeting, the trustee meeting. And 6.5 is the one for Woodlands Mall. You see the shadowed area in that.
Mhm.
It's not in the packet, Fred. It's the additional handout.
Here.
Yeah, right there. So there's the Woodlands Mall. These are coming out, these pictures are coming out of the HCR study. And SRA handed them out in the trustee meeting.
Right, and they are draft, just before you continue,
Right.
each of your draft, HCR is actually looking at them from their analysis and determining what the baseline is and the spurs are. This is just a rough
Right.
indication of what it could be.
And I would agree with that, that the easy one was Woodlands Parkway. You know, that we had more in-depth discussion on that one on the video. And then they went and, you know, clouded other areas that they wanted to do additional analysis on.
One thing to point out too is on any of these projects where it interfaces a intersection where we're not continuing up necessarily an extended period, that they would go up around 100 feet or so to get away from the intersection as the base project, so that when that day came that, you know, we do need to keep going, that we're not dealing with the intersection anymore. We're just tapping on and going.
Ed suggested that, and I thought it was a good approach, that we get through the intersection, have 100 feet on each side, and that way if we have to come back like on Branch Crossing later, and multiple years later, then
I have a follow-up question on that. What is the special nature of the 100 feet? Like, as opposed to 90 feet or 110 feet?
One
Is-
is
there's-
the public.
It could be 60 feet. We're just trying to get past the intersection away from
Traffic.
Turn lanes.
Okay.
traffic signal
So it's like a buffer.
poles
and these pipes, as you said, come in 20-foot sections,
generally.
generally speaking. And so you can see 5 sections, or, you know, some of the, like Woodlands Parkway would be, that's a 4-lane divided road. So it could be quite wide.
Now, there could be a driveway within a couple of feet of the 50 feet of the intersection. You would want to get past that driveway,
Okay.
that sort of thing.
Okay. And Chris, you had mentioned that there's still an iteration with HDR. I just want to make sure, because I was looking at the second paragraph, which was, I want confirmation or non-confirmation. When I read the text, it says here that the town center and Woodlands Parkway should be completed within the next 5 to 6 years, with modifications to the project extents by removal of what we've been calling spurs. So
Right.
is that kind of the direction that SJRA is giving the consultant to?
We are.
Okay.
So it'd be town center stays as approved by the trustees in August. And then with Woodlands Parkway, it's as you see on 32, with the exception of the 100-foot on the intersection. The rest of them, HDR's evaluating themselves, and they'll change the report to actually reflect what their engineering opinion is.
Okay, so I heard a small modification. I just want to draw attention. There's town center and Woodlands Parkway. What I'd mentioned was true for Woodlands Parkway, that the default is that the spurs will be excluded, but the current direction that you guys are giving for the town center will include the I guess the optional pieces that had been discussed earlier.
Yeah, I recommend that, yes.
Okay.
So the other, so I gave you guys a handout.
Yeah.
If you go to the 4th page, town center, 31 DL, so no clouded zones in the town center.
Town
Right.
center stays, and that's
Yeah, yeah.
item 3A, says town center project remains as approved for design by the trustees in August of 25. So the entire thing is a baseline, if you will.
So my question then was, this was your handout, so I don't know if this was.
That's town, what's the other one? What is it?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Woodlands Mall.
Not town center.
Yeah,
Got it.
town center. And
They do kind of go together because
Connect.
there's the different colors there, but
Yeah.
part of it is town center shown on there, the other parts will.
Got it. Got it. Thanks for the
When do you
clarification.
plan to begin funding this project?
So on page 33 is the schedule.
Okay,
What we're roughly looking for is in January, bringing a draft supplemental to the MUDs for review, looking for approval in roughly March. And then with that approval, we'll take it to our board. Once it's approved, then we'll start the bond sales. So we're looking for the bond sales, for the proceeds to be received around September 26th.
so basically 2 bond sales, 1 year apart.
Roughly, and that's going to be worked a little bit out just because it is very close together. It's just a time frame of 5 to 6 years. You shouldn't have 2 bonds. One bond lasts 6 years.
Okay. And roughly, we're talking about, 45 million between the,
Right now, I think it's roughly,
60.
yeah, 60 to 65. So 2 bonds, roughly 30 million apiece.
Out of curiosity, if we look at the HCR's, scoring sheet here, the racetrack scoring sheet here. So it had town center, total cost 15.6. Woodland Parkway 27.8, so that comes out to be roughly 44 million. How do we get to 60 or?
That's also in $2025, so no inflation over the next 5-6 years. Also does not include easements or construction materials testing or an inspection.
Okay.
So you have to add those back into.
And you'll give us a detailed breakdown later on that material.
Yeah, prior to the vote, the hope is, or the thought is, when you get this draft supplemental agreement, you also get the cost and everything you're looking for, the breakdown as well. That way you're not voting blind.
And this first, let's say the first 30 million in 2026, we're talking about putting that in the water rates, right? Because we have not had a tax rollback election.
Right, they'll all be, all these projects will be funded through the wholesale water rates. On the mud side, whether it flows through to the retail, probably these bonds will go through to the retail. We've talked at some other board meetings about the possibility that maybe we could reallocate some of the savings from the GRP reduction, because there's going to be at least 10 cents coming from that to maybe be able to reallocate to the retail rates that would be able to be used to pay the debt service. So that way residents see a stable rates as opposed to a drop and then an increase. And that's not, you don't want to whipsaw your customers. So if you can keep it consistent, then that would be ideal. But you're going to need to see the numbers from everybody.
So the money from, having listened to a lot of explanations.
Yeah.
The Conroe associated GRP money has been kind of walled off for two purposes, right? One is debt reduction, the other one is R&R. So the savings may come through debt reduction. Is that?
Over and above what I think you said, just operationally from Conroe now using more water.
Okay.
Correct. That was the first 10 cents, which the review committee approved last month. This coming Monday, they're going to be given options for the walled off money for Conroe.
Right. Okay.
Which could be another 4 cents or so.
4 cents or so.
But we'll look at that on Monday.
So to answer your question, this first segment, yes, will likely be paid for with retail rates, but maybe we can reallocate and there won't be much of an increase to the actual customers. The future wastewater treatment plant, that's probably gonna be a larger number. And when we get to that point, we probably have to talk about whether it would make sense to approach your residents about a potential rollback election as opposed to the retail rate increase, because, as we talked about before, a rollback election could potentially be more beneficial to residents because they have the benefit of a 20% homestead exemption, and generally residential water use is higher than commercial water use. So by allocating it based on taxable value, which is higher per acre for commercial anyway, plus the additional benefit that residents have with a 20% homestead exemption, you can effectively shift some of that burden for the infrastructure to your commercial base as opposed to on your residential base. So it's a nuanced argument, can absolutely be made, but it's going to take a lot of outreach to residents when we get to that point. But we probably won't have that discussion until we get to a larger ticket item like the wastewater treatment plant project, that, it's going to be either a fairly significant retail increase or this option for a rollback election.
You that same speech to Metro?
I've given it several times.
They're aware. Yeah, they're supportive.
So is the yet another alternative to just follow that part, that the SCRA issues a revenue bond for the wastewater treatment plant? They would increase the rate, the wholesale rates, and then
Correct.
the idea is that net, when you net it out, amortize over 30-year period, that the residents would benefit from the option that you mentioned earlier,
Rollback election.
as opposed to the increase in the rate
Correct.
over that 30-year period or
Correct,
so.
because each
Okay.
home would likely pay more on a monthly basis for higher retail rates than they would for a 1/12 share of whatever their property tax. would be.
Okay, thank you.
Observation, how long has this set of projects been in the works from a logistics and engineering side? Approximately.
The All of the water lines?
No, everything we've been talking about here for the next two projects is $60 million.
Oh, well, that was,
Approximately. I don't need exact numbers.
Well, town center.
18 months. Well, town center's been since 21,
Yes.
been under design since 21. The condition assessment started
I knew it
roughly.
was a while. I didn't know the exact
Yeah.
period of time. Here's my observation. I believe that the logistics and engineering are in good hands and the analysis has been well done and well thought out. But I'm concerned about not only the board members' ability to understand the finance and the business aspects of this, but also the funding methodology and the historical observations I made that was printed out in the SFDUE study that was done about the potential conflict of interest that exists between certain parties that are getting into contractual agreements and the methodology of going for bonds. And I think it would be helpful and informative to all directors that we delve into it in the kind of detail that we did for the engineering and logistics part, from the perspective of educating the board members and also to provide a touchstone for our residents that they can dial up and see the kind of thought processes going into the finance that affects them from a rate perspective, so you can present your savings and analysis in a way that we can educate our residents and constituents. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, we'll be doing all that.
But do we have enough time if we're going to begin this and look for funding within the next, pick a number, 6 months, 8 months?
Mhm.
I don't feel comfortable, given the fact that we've spent years doing the more detailed analysis for the engineering side. I think that we have an obligation because we have an opportunity here to educate both the board members and our constituents as to what we're doing and how it impacts them specifically, as opposed to summary documents without having an analysis of the contractual agreements that we're getting into and the commitments that we're establishing for 10, 20 plus years. And that's my observation.
Some of that has been covered, a few years ago. I can't remember if it was maybe before you had come on the board about for any of these, options, regardless of whether they're for smaller tranches or larger, you basically have three options. You either have pay as you go,
Right.
which is going to spike your short-term rates, and it doesn't make sense because it's a long-term useful asset. Why, hit the unlucky people who are living in Mud 46 today that are, going to have to pay full freight for something that's going to last a long time. That's option one. Option two is you have all the MUDs go and issue their own bonds to be able to pay for their pro rata piece of the overall project. That's horribly inefficient because you have issuance costs for every bond issue. You have bond application reports that have to be prepared by the engineers. A lot of soft costs involved that don't go to the actual project. So that's option two. So that's not very efficient. Or option three, which is what we're talking about, is the river authority issuing a single bond. So you reduce the amount of issuance costs. You have more dollars that go to the actual project. And then that flows through on the wholesale rate. And then the MUDs decide, how they're going to fund that additional wholesale cost from the river authority. And so that's really it.
I agree 100%. Now, here's my observation though. Historically, the SJRA bond contractual agreements were the legal support and relationship was established by the same firm that's representing the MUDs. And I'm not casting any type of aspersions on you. You're doing a great job representing us, nor your partners who are working with the SJRA. However, there have been enough documented sets of information where I don't believe the best interests of the constituents have been represented in this type of relationship. Now, I understand that there are law firms that can work together on, I'll call it conflicting, bad word, but on two different parties that one is subservient to another, and I understand how that works. However, in most cases, in my experience, and it could be limited experience, if it's employment law and intellectual property, absolutely, very little conflict. If other types of law, specialties, that can certainly be allowed within the context of a single law firm. But when we've got the SJRA that's in water management, water financing, and relationships with its customers, the 10 MUDs, and we have the exact same law firm negotiating on the exact same contracts and bonds, I have a concern about that. And I'm not suggesting anything at this point, except I think we do need to talk about it. And we need to have enough time that representatives from each of the MUDs need to understand the implications of this and how we best serve our constituents. I agree with the three choices, and I agree with the one that you selected. That is the most cost-efficient manner that serves our residents best. Cool, I'm on board with that. It's the next step where I've seen what's happened since the 1980s, and I've gone back to those contracts, and I have 2 or 3 file boxes of those in my office right now. And when these points were brought up, and both Jim at the beginning and Eric now and Ed always, we talked about it. And there were some things that were agreed upon and some things that were not, but we never got deep into it. And I suspect with this ultimate total set of projects for the rejuvenation and renovation of our water purification system and distribution system, I think the amount of hundreds of millions of dollars that will be cast upon the residents of this township for the next 40 years, I think we need to do a much deeper dive with a lot more detail with other MUDs and other people from the Woodlands involved. I don't know who they are because I think it should be an aggregate number or an aggregate amount of organizations that participate, because it will affect the township. It will affect obviously the SJRA, and it will affect every single MUD. At the very minimum, we should have participants of those organizations and get maybe a impartial legal advice from another law firm at what is best for our residents. And I'm opening it up for a discussion.
Well, I think I would say is we've always felt here in the Woodlands, it's been a community of interest, not a conflict of interest. And I think you can probably see from the tax rate charts that were circulated in connection with this last round of tax rates, that the MUD tax rates being 85% or so less than the average in Montgomery County is a direct result of the relationship between the MUDs and the River Authority and the structure that's been designed over the last 40 years. So I would push back a little bit on the notion that there's been some real flaws or issues with the relationship, because I think the proof is in the numbers, and this relationship has resulted in the Woodlands MUDs having incredible value in being able to achieve efficiencies in how the infrastructure has been developed and financed over the years. And so this is really a continuation. It's not a new mousetrap. It's a continuation of the system that was designed 40 plus years ago that all the residents that are in the Woodlands today benefit from.
No doubt about it that the system has given us value, but the value was based on absolutely phenomenal growth and success of that growth in the development of this land and with the businesses and retail and the number of residents and the value of the homes that have been built within a community.
So pressure costs too. I mean, I think if you would try to pull side by side, a community this size versus another, community in the Houston metro area that would have 5 water plants and 3 wastewater treatment plants and be designed with that kind of regional.
I think the last thing that anybody would do would be compared a successful community like the Woodlands Township with one that is got a flawed methodology of implementing the same program that we've got. Yes, we have done some amazing things, but part of that success has hidden some of my point of view, has hidden some of the possible inequities that exist between the SGRA and the MUDs. And I think we need to at least shine a light on it, discuss it, and present it to the MUDs. And if they sit back and say, you know, it worked before, and let's continue to work it the way we are, and let's take a look at where the inconsistencies are. And if there are things we have to change, let's address it to those. Things we don't have to, let's move forward and push this in a logical way that we could defend it to our constituents and to our fellow board members in the other MUDs.
So Fred, if I may share how I'm rationalizing and digesting the information, I feel very comfortable speaking to our constituents, thinking about it that way. I want to share it because maybe my peers will benefit from it as well. Is that we have a proposal that has been put forward, and the proposal is merely to have our representative at the trustee meeting, that we're giving them the approval to say this plan, this methodology, which excludes the financing aspect. I looked at the
By the way, I
document.
agree with that. I'm not saying no to what you're saying.
So how we go about financing this would be, in my view, a conversation that is super valuable. But how I'm thinking about it is that there's a proposal that the three of us will evaluate to either approve or not approve the methodology, if you will, for the trustee at the trustees meeting. And then how I'm rationalizing it is understanding that assuming that passes, then we would have an ample opportunity, months worth of opportunity to have the open dialogue that we've had with the SGRA, with our professional manager, to understand the nitty gritty details about how the three options that had been discussed a few minutes ago. And that includes what is the interest, as an example of the level of detail that I'm looking forward to, is understanding what are the interest rate differences between, on the one hand, a revenue bond that the SGRA issues, which presumably the market for the buyers of those bonds are going to say, hey, well, we're going to bid at this interest rate, whereas a general obligation interest rate bond, everything else, ceteris paribus, everything else being equal, would be a lower interest rate. But based on the description of, you have 10 different MUDs potentially, you don't have a ceteris paribus, everything else being equal. It's the option of having one party issuing a general obligation bond versus 10 MUDs issuing revenue bond, one revenue bond by the SGRA versus 10 independent
I've never
general obligation.
I've never advocated
bonds.
that. I said that the one that
And I'm not saying that you are. What I'm saying is that level of detail is the type of detail that I expect to have over the next number of months, to be able to understand those details, to confidently say, yes, option 1, 2, or 3 for financing makes sense or not.
let me take a step back to what you.
But let me finish. So my recommendation would be to, and this is how I'm rationalizing it, is to scope the question upon us to, do we approve that our trustee representative vote in a way that says, yeah, we approve of this general direction, yay or nay? Does that make sense?
Nowhere in my conversation did I say, let's stop the movement forward. I agree with the presentation made here. That has nothing to do with what I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting is, when this document is forwarded, we also bring to the attention in some detail about shining a light on the finances, the contractual relationships, and the legal representation that we have experienced. I'm not suggesting we stop any of the movement. In fact, I support, and if this was brought to a vote now, I would second it, and I would agree with it. So I'm not disagreeing with what you're doing, and I'm not suggesting that we stop the forward movement. What I'm suggesting is, we've seen things in the past that have concerned me in my analysis, that helped demonstrate the value of the SFDUEs and how it's analyzed from people who did years worth of work. And we were able to successfully get us approved as a developed district after probably 2 terms of officers in MUD 46 who could have done the same thing, maybe, don't know. But I don't want to see that happen and us locked into a 40-year contract because we did not analyze the financial implications, the contractual implications, not just the engineering and the logistics and the long-term planning scope, because all of that is people have done a great job on that. I'm not criticizing any of it. It's just there are things that I've seen and brought to the attention of this board that haven't been addressed to at least my understanding, let alone satisfaction.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think that every board member needs to see that. And that's what I'm advocating.
Awesome.
So if I was to make one recommendation to this, that we add a couple of sentences, maybe even a paragraph, I don't know, not a lot of.
To have a workshop perhaps where we go into the detail.
Possibly a workshop, yes, where we can explain to the boards of all of the different MUDs, and of course the trustees will be there too, what some of the observations are. And if the 50 board members or some portion of them, a minority, do not see the concern or the problem, then we vote to move forward and we just move on. But at this point, to not even address it in the form of some highlight in either the cover sheet or in the table there, I think would not be proper for us.
So I make a motion.
Okay, well, let me spend 2 minutes. So, we began this structure, over 2 years ago. And we had discussions on tax rollback election. And to me, at that time, we were really rushing. So I believe the next discussion, a vote for a tax rollback election will be this summertime at best. I'm not going to have it. Not this year, next summer is it. So I think we have the time now, which we really didn't have before, because, this analysis got us past August the 17th. And so we're into another year. And I think we will have time, and we need to take the time to bring everybody up to speed. So we have a common education across the group of 50. And I think, Fred, if you'd like, maybe you can write a paragraph and what your thoughts are and address it to all 50 MUD directors. And that we can kick that off. I'll be honest with you, we have a lot to do between now and another month or two. And we can begin the process of going through the thought process of what we want to hear and discuss. Because the first time it was way too fast. Way too fast. And I think we have time now, and I think we should take that time.
I'd
And
like to approach that, what you're suggesting, with the same type of analysis and focus that we did some of these engineering projects. Let's make a timeline. Let's put some deliverables. Let's assign people to do some research so we can intelligently present to all of the board members what the scope of what we're doing and the implication on what it means, because we're going to live with it for 40 years.
so why don't you give half a page, a proposal that we can then share with the other MUD directors.
And to be clear, I'm in complete agreement that we need a level of rigor to articulating the rationale behind how we fund and what the financing terms are. I completely agree with that.
So just to move on, because we got 20 minutes left. So can I
make a
have
motion.
a motion?
Yes, I make a motion to
Direct me
have,
to approve the outline as presented by the SJA.
If it includes a statement about financing and the rigorous financial implications to the citizens of Woodlands. Yeah.
friendly amendment for consideration.
Yeah.
We can even be more specific and say before this March 25th timeline, and I'm just the verbiage to be worked, but essentially that there would be a forum for the directors to hear the financing alternatives. It's basically, you mentioned 3. That alone is going to be a very helpful thing
Let
for
me-
folks who
Let
want.
me
to level
mention
this
something since I have to vote, right, in 3 weeks. We're next to the last mud to meet. So if I'm directed for those words to be in this document, then it's going to be 1 to 9, most likely. I think
Yeah,
this,
this document
okay.
is an administrative document. I mean,
right,
Okay,
talking
fair
about all the financials and all that.
Right, okay. So let me propose the alternative was to split that 2 motions, 1 motion. So Fred, this is another alternative. We make a clean motion that is to approve
clean-
this.
continuing resolution.
And then a separate motion following right after it. The next motion, the
With
follow-up motion.
expectation that there will be a financial analysis to look at the agreements, to look at the finances, all those things. That's already happening.
Yeah.
But.
But I would like to word that second motion for us,
Well,
that
it's
it
gonna be
basically
our
says,
motion for this district, and it should
Right.
come from us because it started with us.
yes,
So
Yes.
I support that 100%.
Yeah, okay.
The question is, how do we do it in such a way that it will get approved to move forward and not stop the forward progress of getting this down the field towards fruition? Because I think there has to be something specific in there
Mhm.
talking about a meeting,
Yeah.
resolution, and approval of the financial and bond contractual work. Now, I'm open to anything, but because I just would like someone to stop, take a breath and say, hey, here's the numbers. Here's how we're going to approach it. The engineering is done. It's great. The logistics are done. Terrific. We've got everything lined up. Now we need to take a real hard look, rigorous look. I like the phrase, at the finances and the implications to all of the people in the Woodlands over the next 40 years. So they understand it before we go and charge them with having to fulfill what we executed without giving a full explanation to our constituents. That's what I'm suggesting. How would you like to do that?
And I think we could have a second motion. The first motion would be the motion to approve the plan. The second one would be worded something akin to, we would have a meeting before, and we pick a date before the mid-March timeframe. And it can be phrased in a similar way to the phrasing that we had the Carollo meeting, the All Muds Carollo meeting, where
How about we
someone
do that?
presents.
You
to us.
insert the 1 or 2 sentence item in this agreement, this motion,
Mhm.
and I'll fulfill the second one, talking a little bit more detail.
Sure.
I can live with that.
Okay, sounds great. I make a motion to approve as is the plan as articulated in the letter from SJRA. And so that our nominee to the trustee board votes yay in favor of this proposal.
With this 1 sentence or 2 sentences you're going to throw in.
Oh, I thought you were saying it's a separate motion, so.
No, the
we should
second
have
one is a
Carrie,
separate-
we should have more discussion because I do
Just
have
be
a
honest, those 2
concern.
sentences
I have a concern.
will not make it into this document.
That's my concern is that it would. By adding the
If you tell
verbiage
me I
into the
can't
first
vote
one.
without those 2 sentences.
In previous meetings, we talked about mitigating risk. I would hate to see us move forward on this with no statement of taking a step back to take a breath and understand what we're agreeing to
Mhm.
in the effort to be expedient, and move the project down the road. And that's why I'm saying the details,
That's reasonable. That's reasonable.
the details of what we need to take a look at, I agree, should be in more depth and should have the input from other parties. But I don't think it's unreasonable for the trustees to say, okay, we're moving forward, except somewhere before March 25th, we're going to have a analysis that will approve the financing and funding and the obligations that we're putting on our constituents. That's all. I'm not saying stop and don't move forward. I'm saying we just have to do it.
Okay, I think I have it.
Okay, so Fred, let me just say this.
I
I
think that
believe
will make you.
that the other 9 MUDs approved what was presented. I,
All right, and we're not necessarily taking motions on this. It's really just informally giving your trustee direction to approve adding these 5 projects to the 10-year CIP plan. And then to have the River Authority go from there to prepare the financing that will be brought back in, a supplemental that will be brought back to the MUDs in January. I mean, that's really all this incremental step is.
it's really,
All city directors will be immersed in the contracts. They'll be immersed in the numbers, in the financing. All of that is already in motion.
That's my hope and my expectation.
We're 10 steps ahead of you.
Great. Good news. So then we're 90% of the way there. So you just put your one sentence together that inserts that,
Okay.
and we move forward,
Okay.
and I'll work
So
on the other part.
so I'll propose this, this motion for consideration that we, the representative to the trustee board approve this plan and that he share with the group
the thoughts.
our thoughts that there should be a forum presented, a forum where the finances are, those financial details are covered. The
And the
funding
legal
finance.
detail and the obligations it
Yeah.
has to the constituents.
So that's our.
And I can express our viewpoint in the meeting.
Mhm.
And I will do that.
That sounds great. All
So
right, so there's a motion.
what,
I made the motion.
are we expressing a motion or are we
No.
adding a sentence?
I move that we approve,
As is.
as is with the instruction to please share, that our trustee representative share that that we want a forum where these the funding and finances are presented to the MUD directors.
Okay, and is that forum going to be in accordance to what we have here with our schedule? March.
And we should say that that forum is
Prior
prior to March,
Yeah,
prior to the March approval.
I can look something over that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we,
So once we approve that, then the next motion will be what your expectations are of me.
I didn't think it was even needed to go to a second.
Okay, then we won't, but we'll wait until November and see what unfolds from the trustee meeting.
So I put a motion forward. All in favor?
Well, have a second?
Second.
All in favor of the motion? Say aye.
Aye.
And I'd just like to say, we've had a long road through this process, and I'm pleased with where we've ended up so far.
Good, let's continue into the wastewater plant.
You had to spoil the moment, didn't you?
No, I think this.
I know that, I know that.
Yeah. No, the details that your organization has provided.
Okay, so we've accomplished that. And I'll share those thoughts with the trustees at the next meeting. Okay, Bear Branch Dam and Spillway.
Hopefully, I have 3 quick things. You should have at your place a copy of our maintenance report, a little bit longer than what you've typically seen. So there is the usual and weekly inspection information. And then at the bottom, starting at the bottom of the second page is project information that are active to the Bear Branch drainage system. It's a little bit different format than in the past. If you have any suggestions or comments about its format, you're welcome to share those with Eric and we will make some adjustments. Second thing to mention is Bear Branch Dam Tour is tomorrow at 9, at 10. And that there will be people on site to help you park. You're coming in on the south entrance. The only request is you wear closed-toed shoes, no flip-flops, no sandals, no bare feet. There are snakes out there. There's probably broken glass out there. So we're trying to make that as safe as possible. Third thing is the actual agenda item. The SJA board will consider and more than likely approve the consultant's contract next Thursday to go to the next step of preliminary engineering design and feasibility. Excuse me, that tour is at 9 a.m. tomorrow. We have asked the consultant to look at an alternate design that may be more efficient and more cost effective than just replacing the existing spillway in kind. And so that is part of their scope, and they will be bringing information back to us March, April, and we will have an all mud meeting after that to bring the information forward, talk about cost, talk about the difference in design, what's pros and cons, that sort of thing. Happy to answer any questions.
That's the same consultant who gave us the all
Yes.
25-minute presentation. Simple.
That is correct.
For the tour tomorrow.
Yes.
Can I bring my teenager children or is it adults?
No babies, no,
School of them, so it sounds like.
no babies, no strollers.
No babies, okay, great.
Just to give you an update on the financing part of that. As I mentioned last month, I would kind of remove that from the discussion on the non-stakeholder meeting, non-stakeholder modes last month. While we focused on the engineering, I brought that back up to the non-stakeholder modes this month. We've gone 4 out of 4 so far, as far as interest in participating. So I got one more to go, but I think we're up to about 1.2 million.
That's great.
In change in contribution from non-stakeholder modes. They'll enact that or take action next month, but it's looking good so far. I've got one more to go. And when that happens, when those other contributions happen, your share goes down, as you know.
Yeah.
That's good.
So you're going to have a different methodology than the original methodology we discussed. Okay. Okay. Okay, so
Love it.
We'll try, I'm trying.
Yeah.
receive an update regarding the status of the Bear Branch, Panther Branch Research Forest Drainage Improvement.
Yeah, we just reported last month that the application had been submitted to the Corps. This month, we've just been getting all the letters of support and forwarding them to the Corps of Engineers, and they've been adding that to the application. So that's all.
Have we determined how long that cycle is to submission to approval?
It'll probably be, well, they're taking in all the information, and then they're gonna do their own look, make recommendation. And then the clock, I think after that starts, and it's about 90 days or so. So it's gonna be probably, yeah, probably.
Sorry.
Maybe late spring, but
Okay, number 4, consider an act on pay application number 2 for the retail wastewater collection system rehabilitation.
yes.
That's you.
So that's the sanitary sewer rehab project that started probably 4 or 5 months ago. We have pay estimate number 2 from the contractor for work completed. There was, so pay estimate number 1, you didn't have any work that had been done within the boundaries of 46. This time you do, to the tune of $27,934. After you take out retainage for the project, your share of this pay estimate would be $26,537.30. So I need action to approve payment of that, of your share.
I have a motion to authorize payment of our share of the pay application number 2 for retail wastewater collection system.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 That was this sheet right there. It's
That's right. If you go to about midway, they'll say, up in the center, it'll say
Yeah.
46.
Yes, right. I circled it.
Okay, receive attorney's report.
I don't have anything general under the attorney's report today. I do need to cover item 16 with you.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Page 41, which is HB 103.
Yep, that's the next item.
Okay, I'll wait for that then.
Yep.
Okay, authorized preparation, filling of initial local government bond, tax, and project report.
All right, so the bill is in your packet. It's from this most recent legislative session. We're The legislature is always looking for new ways to increase transparency, let's put it that way. So you may think when you look through some of the list of information, you go, well, I'm surprised the state doesn't already have this information. Well, they do. It's just in different formats. So some of the information we provide to the comptroller that's embedded within our audits. Some of it is provided to the TCEQ in connection with election, when there are bond elections and propositions are provided to the TCEQ. Projects that are approved for payment out of bond proceeds for water sewer drainage, those also go to the TCEQ. But we're tasked with preparing a new report, or actually populating a report format that's supposed to be put together by the comptroller's office with this historical data. So the first year, you have to do a 10-year look back, so 2015 through 2025. If you're working with your financial advisor and with your staff to be able to gather that historical information to populate that initial report. The deadline to complete that is January the 1st. And so we would ask for the board's authorization to have your consultants and your staff complete and file that report with the comptroller before the January 1st deadline. Happy to answer questions for Fred if you have one on the bill.
I had a question. So this is assuming it passes.
No, it passed.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay.
And if you had to name 5 elements that make up this report, what would they, give it?
Well, it's historical, it's historical information regarding your debt service, historical information regarding your bond elections and what your propositions provide for. If you issued bonds during that 10-year look back period, how those funds have been expended from the bond issues. So you're primarily in the statute within B1. I think the subsection is where most of the Woodlands MUD's information is going to be. So at the bottom of page 41, go over on 42. Because under, so B1, B2, or we haven't had a rollback election. That's what B2 is referring to. B3, we're not a school district. So most of our information that we're going to be populating is going to come from that B1 section.
So mainly the consolidating
Correct.
all the information on a single sheet,
Correct.
easier to look at than hunting for 5 sheets of paper.
Just an administrative task to, have folks gather that stuff up and compile it into one report.
I move to authorize the preparation and filing of initial local government bond tax and project report pursuant to chapter 403 Texas Government Code. It's amended by House Bill 103.
Second. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Okay, receive and act on general manager's report.
All right, general manager's report starts on page 47. As you can see, a lot of information we've put in here. Just wanted to point out a typical on 48, kind of a typical picture of rehabbing manholes. You'll see inside and outside of manholes rehabbed, things like that. There's broken pipes.
Is that the one that fell in 47?
No, that's I don't know if this is the specific one 47. But that's the typical type of stuff that we'll be doing.
If you look at your first page, 47, you have the, I guess, activity going on, residential redevelopment, residential new. And what is a 2 in this? Location 2, location 6?
Those are just counts
House.
of that type of development. When we had this itemized, this spreadsheet got way
Way too big.
and I didn't think that you needed to hear about every backyard patio that was being
Okay, so when it says residential new, that's not a new house necessarily.
residential new would
New,
be,
6,
yeah.
6 new houses?
There's a handful of empty lots.
Yeah.
Is that in your neighborhood?
In our neighborhood, for sure.
Yeah.
And redevelopment, how would you define that? Is that a pool or is that?
Could be a lot of different things.
No, it doesn't include irrigation and pools. It's gonna be outdoor kitchens, additions that would include plumbing.
You're getting this through the paperwork they have to file with the township
They filed with us.
Oh, filed with you.
They want to make changes to their water system.
System, okay.
Yeah, we need an
When
opportunity
were
to
these,
provide comments to
requested?
them to ensure that they meet
So
our
46.
connection requirements.
I don't know offhand, that this is over the last few months.
Well,
They come in month after month.
do any of them require additional SFDUEs?
No.
So to David's point, what are these new developments or redevelopments for? If it's for a outdoor kitchen or something, or is a new house, I would think SFDUEs would be required.
Not on an existing facility that already has an SFDUE.
So in other words, one SFDUE regardless of quantity needed, water quantity, they're still covered?
Mhm.
And what about a new development, a new home that's greenfielded?
We don't have any greenfielded, new
Homes?
homes.
Okay, I thought David asked the question is, are these new homes?
Well, they're homes in existing subdivisions that are being built. Correct.
It goes back, how I'm understanding is that the label new applies to in progress.
So this was a vacant lot that
A new
someone
one.
built a vacant lot. So, okay, so let me, before we get into this, we've had these discussions in closed session before. Can we discuss this topic in closed session if we go out to the SFDU, or can we have to do it right now? Because we have discussed some of this in closed session.
I think that's been about the.
SFDU calculation.
The legal aspects of imposing the cost, but
Okay.
not really about,
Not about this.
not
Okay.
about what
So-
is new development versus, so that's not really a legal matter.
Matter, okay. So I'll just put my memory into this discussion, so. And I don't remember how it occurred. It might have been the month you missed. Okay, there was a brief discussion, Eric brought it up, about we have a development, this is called Sterling Ridge. If someone, and it happens to be a vacant lot there, right? There's a vacant lot there, someone goes and puts a house on that lot.
Mhm.
Do they pay the SFDU fee or do they not? And I guess this is probably the discussion we have again. You mean, because I think you brought it up and you asked that question, but I'm not sure Fred was there that day.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, so we have a house, we have at least one house, we looked at buying it, the guy had two lots. You mean, and he could have easily, this way he built that first house, he could sell off the second house. So, and someone buys that house, that buys that lot, it's a vacant lot that's never been built on, it's a greenfield. Do they have to buy a sewer and water SFDU? I guess I'm
But they
asking.
didn't purchase the SFDU from you because we didn't have
We didn't
a
have-
ability to do it.
We had not, we had not created the fee. They would have done it and that would be the end of it. So from the discussions we've had, what is your thought on that?
My recollection is we approved a modest SFDUE charge for basically new land, new development. We didn't really address redevelopment because in most redevelopments, you're not going to be putting multiple houses, but obviously with commercial or retail, that could change. But we don't know.
So
We didn't address that in detail, other than the fact that we said that if we're going to add water capacity to a particular tract of land, we're going to charge based on the SFD calculation for that particular size property. Made sense to me. That's what we approved. So why wouldn't we charge? That would be my question.
square with what you're doing?
I think so.
You think so? Then I'm happy.
Yeah, we'd have to look at the dates. I mean,
Yeah,
these are, I think, older that didn't occur, that occurred
Yeah.
before you put that policy in play.
And we do recall, we do have language about, variances. And so if you
Right.
have some of these
We do.
unique situations come up that don't necessarily, if it's round peg, square hole, you can always use your discretion as a board and provide a variance.
And from my perspective, he's authorized to do that. That's the job, not ours. We gave him the tool to be able to charge for the SFDUE. And we just need to have the general manager report on it when it happens.
Prepared to do that.
I'm comfortable
When
with
it
that.
happens.
One more question. It says on page 47, Hark notified the WWA that their staff working on the WWA GIS project have been laid off due to cut in federal funding. Was that the continuing resolution funding, or was that just a project funding? General.
So we've been interviewing multiple outfits to help us get the GIS system back up and running. And so we hopefully in about the next week, we'll get a new outfit on board to be able to take our GIS forward.
Did Hark close?
No,
Was their entire funding or just the people?
No, our team
The team?
over there. There was a man there. I think there was 3 folks working on it. I don't know how many people they have internal to just GIS, but there were 3 on ours, and 2 of them, the manager and the kind of the workhorse, were laid off. So yeah, so we're looking at how to continue on because we utilize GIS heavily and will continue to do heavily with our kind of data driven organization, the direction we're going. So it's very important to us to make the right decision on who takes this going forward. So we're and we've identified with a couple of the outfits that we're contemplating that the SFDUE look is number 1 priority. Because Kim and I finished our SFDUE audit probably about 6 weeks ago. And the next step was to get that information over to the GIS operator so they could update the database. And that's when we found out that they were. So we're working.
That surprised me when I read it, so.
Yep. But it didn't have anything to do with the government shutdown. That had not happened yet.
Yeah, quickly before we move on, that Macbeth Way, the Woodlands Fire Station, that was well before ours. See, that doesn't need to be looked at. It was just the 2 residential ones.
Yeah, I think they're all, yeah.
I don't know. The only reason I know that is I drive by it on the way to the YMCA. So,
Real quick, just wanted to point out that we've acquired some equipment necessary for the ditch stuff that we talked about. We've already hired one of the individuals that would help work on that improvement. So we are moving forward with that. In the interest of time.
The only thing I'll say real quick on the last trustee meeting. So General Manager Spear came, lawyers came, and they discussed the Conroe and SRA agreement. So there's a modification to the GRP global agreement, and I think, next year, we should discuss that at length. And that's what the trustee, I generally agreed to do, push it off to next year. We should get back to that and discuss that. So we will.
is the trustee agreement out front still?
What's that?
I mean, not agreement, package.
No, I don't know. I don't know if it would be in there, right?
I think it was the month.
Okay, so the contract, I got the contract. You have it. Fred, have you seen it's called the Global GRP?
No.
Yeah, we sent it out to all the directors. This was a month ago.
Month ago.
Month ago.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll check my file. Okay.
So that's just for future action. Okay, closed session. So we done the agenda. So I want to close the meeting. And we'll have a closed session.
You said